Hello, welcome back. Today we're reading the first book, and it's going to be of Lawrence. And Lawrence was Emmett's best friend. Now there are going to be some things that you won't understand. And if you haven't figured it out by the end of the story, then in the comments, just leave a comment and let me know if you have any questions. And I'll be happy to make another video that addresses all the questions, or the questions that I get at a time. Anyway, let's get to the story. This should go smoother because I'm reading now, and I'm not trying to explain things. So, the story of Lawrence. Greetings. I am King Lawrence. Well, let's try this again. Okay, I will get better at this, I promise. Greetings, I am King Stuart Lawrence de Mare of Xandu. I never wanted to live in Xandu, more or less to be king of the kingdom. At the turn of the millennium, our great high priest, same man that claimed to be my closest friend, mind you, announced that my father, Isaac Lawrence de Mare, king of Xandu. Now he wanted it. Perhaps 'tis he I have to thank. I tried everything I could think of to avoid becoming king. Let's travel back in time when our high priest was Louis Humberg. I lived in Atlantis with my father, my mother Samantha Darlin, my brothers Lawrence Stuart, whom is my twin, and everyone referred to as the good one, for he never got in trouble, and achieved 2 years farther in classes than I was, so all said he was the oldest. My older brother are Stephen, and my other brothers are Stephen and Isaac, 2 sisters, Angela and Sophia. I was in 12th level classes. Emmett and I were in class, and he tossed a wadded up piece of paper at me and lipped, "Meet me after class." So after class, we all met out behind the education center. "What's up?" I asked as I came up to him and our other 3 friends. We called ourselves the Rebels. "Hey, you know how you said we should take all of Miss Beamer's tables from inside her shop and put them outside her shop?" Emmett asked me. "Yes," I laughed. "We gonna do that?" "Yup, sure are, tonight. Her shop closes at 9th passing of the second sun. We all meet there," Emmett said. That is only an hour before curfew. You realize this, right?" I asked. "Yes, trust me. All will be fine. Just meet me there." Later that night, we all met at Miss Boomer's jewel shop. There was Emmett, Charlie, Donnie, Alex, and myself. Of the 5 of us, Emmett and I were the only ones with Odin's abilities. Emmett, however, was better than I was. I used to think it was because he was the high priest's son, and Odin favored the Humbergs. Anyways, Emmett unlocked the door, and he and I went inside and telepathically started to move the tables out onto the main street. The others waited outside to assure the tables stayed intact and didn't fall over. We weren't too good at it at that time. There was only 5 tables, and they were all now in the street. We were just about to leave when 2 members of the executive circle showed up. to be heroes. They were Prince Mike and Prince Danny. Also, they were Emmett's brothers. This might have been the good thing about the situation at the time. "What are you boys up to?" Mike asked, as we all stood looking to him as if we were caught in a spotlight. "Hey, brother," Emmett said. "We told Lady Boomer we would help clean the floor of her shop, and we forgot, so we have to hurry to finish," Emmett said. Now the other four of us were just looking to Emmett and then back to his brothers. "You have 20 minutes before curfew. If you're late getting home again, today Father is going to tan your hide, Emmett Humbug," Danny told him. Yeah, I heard you," he replied, and the two of them continued to walk on, and we all breathed a little easier. "I cannot believe they believed you," I told Emmett. He smiled and got that twinkle in his eye when he is up to no good. "They really did not," he laughed. "We all scattered to get home before curfew as if we were late again. This month we would be in trouble. It would be our 4th offense. And serving as a street sweep boy was not something I wanted to do for the passing of 2 weeks. Each morning before classes, the rebels would meet at Valhalla, and we would all go to classes together. As I entered, I walked into the sunroom, which was a room on a patio, with about 5 round tables that would sit 6. As I walked in, I saw that Charlie and Alex were there and having breakfast. Also Lewis and 2 of the high priestesses, Lillian and Beverly. They were eating as Lewis was reading the Kingdom Journal and drinking his coffee. He would look up to us even every now and then. I walked in and sat with Emmett and the others. As I sat down, a girl brought me my milk and plate. "Hey, E and all, I said and thanked the girl. Lewis looked up and back at his journal. Then I watched that Emmett's brothers, Scott, Mike, Danny, Paul, and Denny, came into the sunroom and sat with their father and mothers. I started to eat when Donnie showed up. "Hey guys, how's it going?" he asked, all cheerful. "It is going," Emmett said. I saw Lewis fold the journal he was reading and set it on the table. "You know, boys, Lady Beamer came to talk to us this morning. Said something about her tables in her shop were found on the street," Lewis said, as if he was just giving us information of the lady's visit. I about choked on my sausage and looked to him. Then Mike and Danny. "Really?" I said. "Was she really mad?" Emmett said with a chuckle in his voice. "She also said she did not know anything about her shop floor being cleaned," Mike added. "Really?" Emmett said. "She may have forgotten. Perhaps she needs to see the clerical. She may be getting agenia. I hear the memory is the first to go," Emmett said with not even a doubt in his mind or untruth. "Emmett Lewis Humbug," Lewis said sternly. He looked up and stood. "I do not believe it is time." Emmett looked up and stood. "I do believe it is time to go before we are late for classes. Boys, no more. Leave the Lady Beamer alone. Next time I hear you are around her shop for mischief, you will be sweeping the streets. Do I make myself clear?" Lewis said. "Yes, sir," we all said, and left out of their before he had us sweeping those streets. Sorry, I'll get used to this sooner or later. As we rode to classes, we passed Partina and Juanita. I jumped off the horses and placed my arms around Juanita. "So want to go out with me, do you?" I asked her. "Let her be, Lawrence," Emmett called to me. I laughed. Juanita was the daughter of the king, and she was promised to the Millennium High Priest, who was Emmett's brother, Scott. I felt he was way too old for her. After all, Scott has been out of classes before I was transferred. Partina was her best friend, and Emmett had this thing about both of them. Then there was this small one come running and calling out, "Y'all always leave me," she screamed, catching up with the other two girls. "That would be you are never ready to leave," Juanita said, and Partina laughed as Emmett got down off his horse and placed his arms around the both of them. "Look, I have them both," he said. "In your dreams, Emmett Humbug," Juanita laughed. However, she did not break from his hold. The younger one was Stockard. She was Juanita's sister. We all walked to class together. I placed my arm around Stockard as she was a cute kid. The memories I have when we were younger are slim. The most vivid memories are after we reached the 15th level of classes. There was a group of us that ran together: Prince Emmett Humbug, Charles Quatinus, Donnie Sturvis, Alex Lurkius, Daniel Love, Serenus Numerius, Partina Daleen, Juanita, Princess Juanita Leon, Princess Stockard Leon, Caroline No Means, Alicia Carmon, Jennifer Tate. Carolyn was my girlfriend because Juanita refused to be. Besides, she was in love with Emmett and was promised to the Millennium High Priest, so actually King Leon would not let her be with any besides the High Priest. And he wasn't there yet. This was the Millennium High Priest. We really all felt bad for her. However, she always said it was her destiny and that she would not blemish her father or the kingdom of Atlantis, unlike Princess Penelope, who is in all the journals, going from this one to that one. She was the daughter of the king of Xanadu, and everyone really thought she needed a collar for her actions. She was also promised to the Millennium High Priest. I remember at one of the royal gatherings, she once said she was going to have her fun before the time came. She no longer could because she would be a high priestess. Someone forgot to inform her she should not be acting as such, for being she was a Millennium High Priestess. That did not seem to cross her mind. The girls of our group all ran together, and the guys did. Carolyn adored Juanita, as long as I did not look her way. Anytime I looked at Juanita, or any female really, she got an attitude and would slap me. Then the argument would start. Our relationship was off, on, off, on, off constantly. She even got upset when I looked to the Thorntons. Once she slapped one of them just because I said she was pretty. Okay, I may have to stop here because I'm guessing that some of you are wondering what a circle is, and others are wondering what a Thornton is. Estes laws or decrees are different, and their forfeitures or penalty to breaking a law is quite different. On Estes there are no prisons, and if you break the law, you are pretty much, in our way of thinking, enslaved. And you're collared, and you work for whoever you went against. And some of them are collared and branded and can never be freed. It comes out more in the girls' stories than it does in this one, because he's not explaining. A Thornton is a branded female. That is a slave. But they don't have a word for slave. So it's hard to explain, because slavery on their planet is not wrong. It's what you get when you break the law or when you break the decrees. Like I said, it's a different planet. They got their own systems. And also classes and ages, as the majority of the people on the garden are immortal. They stop aging when they reach 25 years of life. However, they go to school from year 1 to year 21, and they can't quit. And they can't drop out, and they can't get kicked out. If they get in too much trouble, they're going to be serving the school for a while in a collar. Their ages when they're younger depend on what level of class they're in. So if you're held back and you went to the 5th levels of classes and you're 5 years old and you get held back and stay in that 5th level, you're still 5. That's how Lawrence's twin is older than him, because Lawrence's twin did not get held back and Lawrence was held back. And in the story, it tells you why he was held back, because he's not that dumb. The circles are the police, and the children of the high priest are that. They are the police, they're the investigators, they're the judges, they're the laws. However, Emmett is the main judge. I hope that explains. If not, leave a comment, let me know what you don't understand, and I will do my best to explain it more. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but I just wanted to let you know what it meant in case you were all wondering. Okay, back to the story. The guys, Emmett and myself, were sitting around the table in the Atlantic Garden. Oh, you're going to kill me, guys. Also, Atlantis. When you hear the word Valhalla, it's not a place, it's a palace. There's a Valhalla and a Valhalla. Valhalla is the palace of Odin. Valhalla is the palace of the high priest. Okay, I promise to try not to stop reading again. Alright. The guys, Emmett and myself, were sitting around the table in Atlantic Garden, just talking about the class dances. I believe we were in the 18th level of classes. You and Carla going to the dance, Emmett had asked. I don't know if she's talking to me. We are. I had the nerve to help Tina with her folders she dropped in the hall yesterday, so she is not speaking to me. I told Emmett. Tina was one of the Thorntons in the classes. What is her damage anyway? I do not see why you put up with her, Daniel had said, because Juanita will only give E the time of day. I laughed. You're so insane, Law. She is promised and she remains. I'm sorry, I have to do this again. She is promised, and she reminds me of it every day, Emmett said. You know, after grad, I and Partina are getting married, Emmett said. Really? Does she know this? I laughed. We have spoken of it. She thinks my father will reject because she is not of noble or royalty families. However, I already told father she was going to be my wife, Emmett told us. Yeah, however, you cannot marry until she grads. Sirius said to Emmett. That is only a year passing of when I do, he told him. Emmett did marry Partina after she graduated, and I decided free women were a headache, and I just strayed from them. Sirius and Allison also got married that year, and so did Charlie and Jennifer. I had told Caroline I did not want anything to do with her, and she told me she would not speak to me the rest of my life. That was after she took a whip to one of the diners for asking to borrow a pencil. I just could not take her any longer. We had called it off in the 19th year of our classes. Graduation was great. Emmett graduated with honors, and, well, I just graduated. Okay, I'm going to be a nuisance again because that was the end of chapter 1. A Dinah is a female Thornton, which we all know what a Thornton is now. So a Dinah is a female Thornton because that's what the word for slave is. They don't have a word for slave, or they don't have the word slave. Anyway, a Dinah is a female Thornton that is branded with a Dinah, which means she was bred, which I know that sounds really bad for us on Earth, but it's not on this planet. But she was bred, or else her father committed treason and she was branded. That soon is not allowed anymore once Emmett becomes high priest. But anyway, that's what a Dinah is. And all children on Estes Star go to school. They go to classes. They don't have a word for school. They go to classes. Doesn't matter if they're free or if they're not free. It is by decree that they go to classes. They go from 1 to 21. And they go 12 hours, I think it's 8 hours, 12 hours a day. I don't really know. I've forgotten. But anyway, that's what a Dinah is. You'll hear the term kitten or courtesan. And a kitten and a courtesan are almost the same. They both have a rose brand and they can never be freed. A kitten belongs to a male and has a master. A courtesan can belong to either or, a male or a female. However, a kitten does not belong to a female. She is a male's occupying. She is to him as if she was his wife, and he is only allowed one. And he can't I mean, he can sell her because it's his property. But as long as they're together, he cannot have a free wife. He has to keep her. Anyway, chapter 2. I was sitting in the sitting room at my father's cottage reading the 4 purchase ads in the Atlantis Journal when Emmett came into the room. "Hey, Law, what you reading?" he said, coming in and sitting on the sofa with me. "The Journal," I told him. "Really? That is what that paper is," he laughed. "E, what do you want?" I said, looking up from the paper at him. "Nothing, actually. Father said to tell you he wanted to see you. If by chance I ran into you. So I came over to run into you," he chuckled. "What does he want besides I do not think I have done anything as of yet? Really? Do not know, and did not ask, and no, I'm not going back to Valhalla and ask what he wants to come back and tell you," he said. "Well, damn, E. What a good friend you are," I replied. "Hey, look at this," I told him, as I saw the ad for the Atlantis Viking Lodge. "Why is it up for purchase?" I asked Emmett. "Tony Delarita is moving somewhere, forgot what Father said. Thinking about seeing if your father will get it for you," he said, looking to me strangely. "Was thinking about it," I replied, and folded the journal and set it down. Viking Lodge is a slave trader, is what a Viking is, a slave trader. "Let me get dressed and I will go with you and see what your father wants," I told him and moved out of the room. I lost my place. I will find it. I dressed and went to Valhalla with E. So where Lewis and Lily were in the sunroom, we walked in and I bowed, as so did Emmett. "Rise, gentlemen," Lewis said. We stood and moved over to the tables with him and sat down. "Lawrence, your father and I was speaking of the circle, and he thinks it would be good to offer you a position in the Kingdom Circle. What are your thoughts in this?" Lewis had asked. "Sounds good to me. Which team?" I asked. My father had already told me it was time to serve the kingdom, and I was just waiting until Lewis called me, or the king, Leon, had. "That I am unsure about. You will have to speak with Austin on that one. Report to him first day of next week," he told me. I told him I would, and would you know it, I was the commander of the King's Circle of the Magna team. My father helped me to purchase the Viking Lodge I wanted, and I moved out of my father's cottage, which was a good thing, as I wanted my own place. The lodge was large. I offered Cyrus a position in the lodge and Daniel. I also offered E a job just for the fun of it, him asking me if I had lost my mind somewhere and advised Cyrus and Daniel to find it. "Hey, you know, the millennium is coming up soon," Emmett said, for it seemed no reason at all. "All right, so Scott will climb the mountain, receive the scepter, return and marry Juanita? I said, nope. Scott said he was not climbing that mountain, and I was thinking about climbing it, 'cause none of the others want to, and Father said he does not want to serve for another term, and one of us has to once the sector returns to the mountain, Emmett said. You? Really? What does Lewis say about it? I asked curiously. Oh, I have not said anything to him as of yet. I was just thinking about it, really. He said, you only want to marry Juanita is all. I laughed. You may be right on that one. Partina and her are so close, she might as well live at Devar as it is. The 6th day of the week, Danny and Patsy have a concert in the kingdom. Want to go with us? You and Cyrus? He asked. Sure. Meet you here and we will just walk over there, I had asked. Sounds good to me. It was the day of the concert, and Emmett, Partina, and Juanita, and the 2 oldest, Carradine and Barbarena, which were their children, came to the lodge. Cyrus and I were waiting for them on the porch as they came from the carriage. We stepped out to meet them. We then started to walk down the street past the Thornton Market and would walk across to the concert hall. As we passed, Cyrus stopped and called to me. Hey, Law, did you take a look at the donos they got up on the block for purchase? He said mysteriously, no, we are going to the concert, not the Thornton sale, I told him. Come along, boss, and see what I see, he said, coming up behind me, placing his hands on each side of my shoulder and backing me up, then turning me around to face the Thornton block, and up on the platform was my old girlfriend, Miss Slapper herself, Lady Caroline Nomeans. Hey, look, it is Carol, Emmett said, all amused. Wonder what she is doing up there, Partina remarked. She more or less slapped the wrong person and found herself charged with the Korea battery. Juanita laughed. I broke from Cyrus and moved into the Thornton yard. I take it we are going to be late for the concert, Emmett smirked as they all followed me. Hey, you all, this is not the way to see Uncle Danny, Carradine spoke up. We're going to buy a dono first, Barbara said. Why? Carradine asked as we moved on into the yard and I listened to the bickering of the girl on the platform. Come on now, 1 gold for this lovely girl, fresh to her rose brand and pure as the rose is fresh, the conductor called out. As I heard him say rose and looked to the blindfolded girl, I then looked to Emmett and smirked. What are you up to, Lawrence Demera? Owning Miss High and Mighty herself. 1 diamond, I called out. All went quiet. Not another bid was heard. As the conductor looked to me, I lost my place. I'm sorry, I've lost my place. All went quiet. Not another bid was heard, as the conductor looked to me. "Your Highness, that is way too much for this miserable girl." "You're turning down coin?" Emmett laughed. "It stands 1 diamond. Have the miserable girl delivered to the lodge." I told him, and we turned to go to the concert, that the kids were complaining about missing. We did not miss the concert. We got there just in time. Afterwards, Adam came over to me. He was Maverick's younger brother. Maverick was one of my guards at the lodge. "Hey, I saw in the journal you're in need of a guard. How about I take one of those positions?" he said. "What is wrong? Being a starving singer is not good enough for you?" Father keeps on me saying I will never amount to nothing besides a noisemaker, and I still live under his roof, he said. "You take position at the lodge, and I will expect you to live there," I told him. "Hey, even better. What about the concerts and all?" he asked. "Up to you and the group. Report to the lodge after the tour, and we will speak more on it," I told him. We then left and went back to the lodge. Emmett and the others remained at the concert hall with his brothers. As I entered the hall of the lodge, I looked to Maverick. "My new girl arrived?" I asked him. "Yes, wish her in your study or office?" he smirked. "Study. I will take a shower, then we'll see her." "Has she been fed as of yet?" "No, I was waiting for you." He smiled. "Good. See, she is fed the Thornton porridge and water until further notice," I told him. "All right, and her duty to your office?" he asked. "Lord, no. Her duty will be to the kitchen. Also, after tonight, she will be placed in a used room," I informed him. She is not going to be happy, She is not going to be a happy dono." He laughed. I laughed with him and went up to my chambers. Maverick was the lodge master. He would make sure all in the lodge did as I wished them to. I took a shower, very proud of myself. Well, Carolyn will be surprised. Last thing she said to me was that she would never speak to me again. I laughed harder at my thoughts as I placed a bathrobe on and went through my chambers to my study, and there she healed at the feet of Maverick as he sat on the couch waiting me. "Greetings, girl," I said sternly to her. "Greetings, master," she replied. She was still with a blindfold on, and it seemed she did not recognize my voice. This was a good thing and could be on my advantage, or in my advantage. "How much training, if any, have you had?" I asked her. "Basics, master," she replied. "I see. Tell me, how did you become to be with that Rosbrand?" I said to her. "I owed a bank a debt and failed on the agreement. I was to serve for the passing of 2 full year cycles. I tried to escape the service and received the Lily brand, then was sold to the Paramount. I then attempted to again leave and receive the Rose brand and given to the Thornton market for sale," she said with a hint of sorrow in her voice, as if she wanted to cry. "How long ago was that?" I asked. "It was in 1 year cycle, master," she replied. "You're a stupid girl." "Then are you not?" I asked her. I did not want to be a dono, she said, starting to cry. I am sure you did not. However, you are now. I went over and stood before her. Stand, Dinah, I told her. She stood up obediently. I felt somewhat sorry for her. Or regretful for her. I was not sure as to why. I looked to Maverick. I will take her from here, send her meal to my chambers. I will personally train this one. As you say, boss, he said cheerfully, and moved to the door from my study. Come along, Dinah, I said, taking her by the upper part of her arm and leading her into my chambers. As we entered, I led her to the bed and let go of her arm. Heel, I told her, and she complied obediently. May I don't speak, she asked. Yes, you may, I told her. What will master do with a dono? She asked me. Let's see. First, I will train you to the platinum collar of a courtesan. Then you will be placed in the kitchen for your duty and serve the guards and men of my lodge, I informed her. I could tell she started to cry. You do not like what I have just informed you of? Do you, Dinah? I asked her. I am Rose Brandon. I have no choice, she said, crying. This is true. You have no choice, nor did you before when you were Lily Brandon. Guess you are not a quick learner. I would advise you to start being one. Try and escape from me, and I will see you are destroyed. Do I make myself clear? I said to her. Yes, master, she replied. It is my master, I then informed her, as I took a courtesan whip from the wall. Kneel, girl, you will now be introduced to your whip. I watched as she crossed her arms before her and placed her head to the floor. It seems that little Miss Slapper was trained somewhat. This I found pleasing. I struck her 3 times with the whip. She cried out with each strike, Heel, girl. I then ordered her and watched as she obeyed. Maverick came in with her porridge and milk, placing it on the table. He then left back out. I replaced the whip and placed the bowl on the floor before her. You have 2 bowls before you. One is your meal, the other is your milk. You will, on your hands and knees, using only your mouth, eat, I told her. She was very obedient and obeyed without protest. After she had eaten, I then had her to get up on the bed and contract, then placed her body in need, waking the tension up inside. I took use of her as she cried in protest, and I could sense her knowing she would be a used girl, and she was right. Afterwards, I placed her in the holding cage in the corner of my chambers. I listened as she cried herself to sleep. Okay, that is the chapter 1 and chapter 2. I'm going to have to stop this video and take up with chapter 3 on the next, because if not, it's going to be way too long. And I've found out it takes 2 hours to upload. So, I will stop this here, and I wish you well. Thank you for listening. I hope you weren't offended, and I hope you enjoyed it. If not, press the do not like button. But if you did like it, please press or click on the like button. If you want to know when the next videos come out, click subscribe and the bell so that YouTube will let you know when I upload the videos, or when I upload chapter 2, or video to. I'm going to upload this one tonight, and I'll probably upload the others later or tomorrow. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave it in the comment area, and I will address it in my next video. Thank you. Have a blessed day, and the Lord be with you. Mwah.